Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Joe. First time here, hit the subscribe button down below. Really appreciate it. And today, doing something a little bit different. All right, I'm going to be reacting to Jeff Nippard's push-pull legs routine. All right, it's a video he posted on his YouTube channel not long ago, and I thought it'd be kind of fun sort of thing. And Jeff himself actually gave me this idea. I actually ended up talking to him just the other week, actually. So we had a nice little conversation on the phone. So appreciate him allowing me to do this. All right, now I'm going to provide a little bit of insights here on what I agree with, what I don't agree with. For the most part, I agree with what he does. A few things here or there that I would change a little bit, but we'll get right into it. So immediately into the program, all right? And I'm going to be having his video up alongside this as I'm going along, so you'll be able to follow along as I'm providing those insights. So let's start here.
With the first quad-focused leg day. So after a quick 3 to 4 minute warm-up.
All right, so he starts with a basic warm-up here. All right, nothing wrong with warm-up. It's always good. And then he shows here a pyramid type of warm-up. And let me pause this right here. So the fact is that, as you can see, he's starting with a higher rep range. Then you're kind of working your way down until eventually getting to 1 or 2 reps. But this is ideal way to, in fact, warm up. So you're not immediately going into the set weight on the bar. In this case, it's 80% of 1 RM. You don't immediately want to go into that. Okay, you want to work up to that to warm up your body, right? Make sure your muscles and your central nervous system is prepared, right? You don't have to do this on every exercise you do. It's a good idea to do this on compound movements, right? Barbell movements in particular. Isolation movements, not so much. You can only do 1 or 2 warm-ups for those if you absolutely need it, depending where you are in the program, all right? But in this particular case, it's an excellent idea for him to include this. All right. Now, first exercise he does here is squats, barbell squats. All right, 3 sets of 4 reps, 1% or 80% of 1 RM. All right, perfectly fine there. All right. Again, this is a little bit of a hypertrophy type of focus, but with the barbell squat, going up to 4 reps here is perfectly fine, especially at 80% 1 RM. Anything higher than that, it can shorten your rep range just a little bit. So I think it's great that he included this way. And right now he's just going over a little bit about his technique. It's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it here. So anybody saying, oh, he shouldn't be pushing his knees out like it is or anything, again, he fully explains why, and I agree with the way that he's doing it here. So nothing wrong here. All right, so the next exercise here is Romanian deadlifts. All right, 3 sets of 10 reps. I think he could have gone up a little bit higher in the rep range there, maybe up to 12 to 15, all right? Also in his technique here, I think he could have been going down a little bit further. You know, have the plates touch the floor, honestly. You want full range of motion out of everything. Not to say that what he's doing here is wrong or anything. I think he could have pushed it a little bit further down. Next exercise, all right, single leg legs press. All right, 3 sets of 15 reps. Perfectly good programming right there. Now, as you notice, he's doing it unilaterally and as a tempo. He explains here the science behind tempo. Tempo training is a good idea. All right, one thing to keep in mind with this is that if you do not have a unilateral leg press like he does, if you do, you're very lucky and definitely use it, all right? But if you don't, in this particular case, and let me just pause it here real quick, all right? If you don't, an alternative to do to this, it would be a split squat. Something like that, okay? Bulgarian split squats, lunges, those are good alternatives to this if you're going for that unilateral. If you don't want to do that, you just want a regular leg press, all right, without unilateral 2 legs at the same time, that's a perfectly fine alternative as well. There's nothing wrong with the regular leg press, all right? Just make sure you're going down in full range of motion with it, all right? So let's continue, all right? And then, you know, he explains here he's leaving a few reps in the tank and everything. Perfectly fine. Now, this one here, all right, leg extensions, all right? So with this here, it's an eccentric accentuated, all right? So he's concentrating on that eccentric phase. Again, as he explains, to hit the rectus femoris, all right? That's exactly what this will do. I agree with it. One thing I will say here, though, all right, is that immediately after this, he does leg curls. All right, I actually would have switched those 2 exercises. So I would be doing leg curls now and then leg extensions, all right? So we see he's doing leg curls here, all right? The rep range for this could have been a little bit higher, maybe up to 15 reps. I personally like that in the leg curls, all right? But in that particular case, that's fine. But again, like I said, I would switch the 2 two ones here. And now he's explaining here again that a study how seated leg curls can be better than lying leg curls. I think that is true, personally, from a personal standpoint. And then, as he also explains here, by leaning forward, let me pause it here. He showed an example of Dr. Eric Helms here doing it where he's leaning forward, all right? That I've tried myself. It is a killer, all right? It really hurts, but it works. And the reason is because you are increasing your range of motion by leaning forward like that. If you're leaning back in the leg curl, all right, that is going to shorten your range of motion just a little bit. And remember, you want that full range of motion. Any advantage you can take to increasing that full range of motion without increasing your risk of injury is a good idea. So let's continue here. All right. And then, he just does, explain that you don't have to completely, pause again, he doesn't have to let go of the lying leg curl at all. It has its place, all right? But the fact is, if you had to choose one over the other, the seated leg curl probably is a better choice. Now he's going into standing calf raises. Nothing wrong here. Again, I personally, would have put it up around the 12 to 15 rep range. You can never get too much volume with your calves, honestly. But again, with these, as he's showing, make sure that you are getting the full range of motion. A lot of people don't. So make sure you're getting the full stretch at the bottom and fully all the way up. All right, and then he goes into a little bit of abs. There's nothing wrong with that, all right? Abs is one thing, guys, here that you don't have to go crazy with, all right? If you just wanted one or two exercises like he's showing at the end of each training session, that's perfectly fine. Remember, this is a 6-day-a-week program, all right? So with that particular case, all right, you don't need that many, all right? Now, on to day 2, it's a push day, all right? So first one, bench press, 3 sets of 8, 72.5, 1% of percentage of your 1 RM. Nothing wrong with there, all right? Again, remember you are concentrating on hypertrophy type of thing, so your percentage of 1 RM doesn't have to be super high, all right? Especially since the rep range is a bit higher in this particular case, all right? And he shows progression here on how it will be. And then the next exercise here, he's doing machine shoulder press, all right? 3 sets of 12. Perfectly fine there. No issues with him showing this. Again, you want a full range of motion out of this, all right? And then you also want to make sure that you're not overloading this machine. This is one a lot of people do overload. In that particular case, you're not end up getting the full extension at the top out of that. All right, and then he's just showing this as an alternative that you can do if you don't want to do the machine. Perfectly fine there. All right, now dips. Dips. I love dips. 12 to 15 reps here. That's a good rep range for it. Make sure, again, as he's showing here, a full full range of motion. Excuse me. Okay. Again, this is another thing that, and let me pause this here real quick. Okay, dips is a lot of times a lot of people tend to add weight to these, all right? I think that is a lot of big mistake for a lot of people. That's because they're not getting the full range of motion out of it. All of a sudden, when you start adding weight to this, all right? Unless you're truly an actual advanced lifter. But even then, concentrate on body weight. If you're able to get up to 30 reps, full range of motion, full reps, all right, then you can consider to start adding weight onto this. But until then, stick with just body weight, concentrate on a good tempo, all right, nice and controlled, and a full range of motion out of it. Please, believe me, you'll get plenty out of the exercise, all right? Skull Crushers, 3 sets of 8 to 10. I think the rep range there, honestly, is a little bit low, but at the same time, he is doing an eccentric focused version of this. So in that particular case, you can get away with that rep range. All right, Egyptian lateral raises, 3 sets of 12, excuse me, plus myo reps. Okay, so for those, let me pause it. Myo reps in this particular case, all right, that is when you complete your 12 reps. You rest for a certain period. In this particular case, he says rest for 4 seconds. Then you immediately do 4 more reps. You rest 4 seconds, do 4 more reps, rest 4 more reps. All right, and you keep going until you're not able to complete that 4 reps with full range of motion with good technique. In that case, then the set is over. All right, myo reps, that's kind of a champion of Dr. Mike Israetel and the Renaissance periodization people. All right, it works. It hurts a lot, but it really works. It is an excellent technique for building muscle, all right? And it's a much better alternative to trying to do cheat reps or something like that, all right? So definitely agree with him. And isolation movements, all right, are at a good place to do myo reps, all right? I would never do myo reps per se on compound movements. So as you see, he's keep going back and forth, keep going until eventually you get to like you can see here, that he fails. All right. So, and then you're finishing here with cable kickbacks, all right? See here, 20 to 30 reps for each one, all right? Again, make sure you're doing it nice and controlled, full range of motion like he shows, okay? So, and he also talking about here specifically about tempo, right? Tempo is something that doesn't necessarily translate to better hypertrophy, but again, is a great way to make sure you're hitting your reps nice and controlled. All right, on to the next one. All right, pull. Weighted pull-ups. All right, so here, this is one place that I honestly have a little bit of a different opinion. All right, and I've said it in my other videos. Let me pause the video here. All right, I'm not a huge fan of weighted pull-ups. All right, the fact is, yes, they can work. Yes, they can certainly provide a great stimulus, but most people, from my experience, honestly don't hit pull-ups full range of motion, full extension like he's showing here, all right, until, only on that first 6 to 7 reps or so. Anything above that, all of a sudden, the reps actually start to get worse, all right? That full range of motion starts to go out of the window, you start to kick, you start to swing a little bit, all right? So instead of automatically doing weighted pull-ups here, make sure you can do a full range of motion of the pull-up without any weight, just body weight, and you can get up to 15 to 20 reps with that. If you can, then you can consider adding the weight. Or a better alternative here, honestly, would be lat pull-down. I think that it is a better alternative, and I've talked about the reason why, is because you can progressively overload it a little bit easier, more consistently, and your technique in it will be more consistently. All right, so there's less room for that kicking or messing anything around, and you can progress in the weight easier with it. But that's my opinion here. If you wanted to do weighted pull-ups, all right, nothing inherently wrong with them or anything like that, all right? Just make sure you're doing it like he is here, full range of motion, nice and controlled, all right? That is the biggest thing that you want to make sure you do, like he explains right here, full range of motion, all right? Seated cable row, great exercise. You could bring that up to around 15 reps if you want to, nothing wrong with that. You can see the type of grip that he's doing it, all right? It's nice and controlled. It's also keeping it with that more narrow grip here. It's a great way to hit a little bit different part of that back, right? There is some research that does suggest that grip width does affect the part of the muscle that you're hitting a little bit. Not hugely, but it certainly does help a little bit. Now this next one, all right, pullovers. I love pullovers, all right? These are a great exercise. They're just showing here, rep range is great. Lat prayers, like the ones that Mike Yersatel has been showing us on his videos, those are a great alternative. Very similar. There is a little bit of difference, but those are excellent too. I've been putting them into my rotation recently, and they've been hitting my lats really, really, really well. All right, so, but these here is perfectly fine. All right, now, hammer cheek curls, okay? Now, this is one area where he justifies the idea of cheek curls here because you can handle a little bit more weight this way. And yes, you can. And I think this can, in a certain way, work. All right, let me pause this. It can hit your central nervous system a little bit more. All right, you still want to make sure that your technique is good, even with the cheating aspect of it. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with hitting hammer curls, just regular ones, like you're showing without any cheating elements into it, getting a higher rep range into it, around 15 to 20 reps, all right? And then, doing it that way. You're going to still build plenty of muscle with that. You'll get a great stimulus out of it. So I don't know if I would have added, honestly, cheat curls in this particular instance, but if you wanted to do it, just make sure, even with the cheating, your technique is good, all right? And then these two, all right, he's doing strict incline dumbbell curls. I love these incline curls. Are really hard, all right? In fact, I practically hate them, but again, they do wonders for you, all right? And the 12 to 15 rep range there is perfectly fine. He only had 2 sets. I personally maybe would have done 3 sets, but other than that, it's fine. All right, on to the second leg section, all right? So with this, he's doing a deadlift, and in this particular case, he's doing a sumo deadlift, all right? I personally here would have done the trap bar deadlift, okay? Again, it's not really a power lifting program, all right? So let me just pause it real quick, all right? I am more of a proponent of trap bar deadlifts for most people in the general population. Unless you're competing in powerlifting, there's not a whole lot of reason for you to do the actual conventional or sumo deadlift. Again, that's my own opinion. If you really want to and you know that your technique is very good, it doesn't bother you, your joints are good, then by all means do it. I just think, again, for most people that a trap bar is probably a better alternative, all right? It's more in line with your center of gravity. It'll still work wonders for building mass for you. Your technique is overall going to be easier to get right. All right, it's going to be something less likely to screw up, and you can progress with it just fine. All right, especially if you're going up a little bit higher in the rep range. All right, nothing crazy high, like maybe at most 8 reps. But again, I just think it for most people would be a little bit better alternative. That is my opinion. All right, now hack squats. I love hack squats. They kill, but they are amazing. As you can see here, again, he's doing it full range of motion. This is a mistake that a lot of people make. They go only about halfway. They think it's full range of motion, but in reality, it's not. All right, and again, as he's explaining here, the way of doing it in your knees and everything is perfectly safe. It absolutely is. All right, but you can make some alterations like he's showing here so it doesn't cause any issues in case you're worried about that. But definitely should be doing hack squats. All right, it's an excellent exercise. And he's showing an alternative here if you don't have it. All right, so it's more like a goblet squat. All right, now next, single leg hip thrusts. All right, hip thrusts are great. All right, if you want to build the posterior chain, there's almost no exercise that's much better than a hip thrust. Single leg is a great alternative. All right, so that's perfectly fine there. Now onto here, you're doing a superset of Nordic hamstring curls with piston or back extensions. All right. Now, in this particular case, I think these are perfectly fine to alternate to do a superset with. All right, and let me pause here real quick. All right, remember with supersets, there's nothing magic about them physiological, all right, physiology-wise. All right, it's not necessarily going to help with building muscle. It's just going to help you help you with save time. All right, but in this particular case, I think it's fine doing it here. Now, single leg calf raise. All right. These are a little bit harder to do if you don't have a machine. So in this particular case, you can do something like a donkey calf raise, like just standing in place, but there's nothing wrong with that. Last one, L holds. All right, it's good exercise to do. All right, just make sure you do maintain that grip. Otherwise, if you let go, you're going to be in a world of hurt. All right, but as you can see, as I explained before, you don't necessarily have to do a ton of ab exercises. This is only, I think, the second day here that he's shown you doing ab exercises. That's really all you do with all the compound and type of movements you're doing is perfectly fine. All right, on to the next one, push. All right, overhead press. All right. Let me pause this real quick. All right, this is one here that I think overhead presses are perfectly fine. It's a great exercise for most people, but if you're having some shoulder issues, all right, you need to make some modifications. In this particular case, like I've shown before, scrape the rack presses like John Meadows shows. All right, those are a great alternative. All right, they're a little bit more joint friendly, and you can still load them up and get a great stimulus in your shoulders with that type of exercise. But if you really wanted to do overhead press, all right, that's perfectly fine. But again, keep that rep range a little low. Here he's doing only 4 reps. He's not going crazy with it and doing like 8 to 10 reps. You don't necessarily have to do. All right. And then close grip, all right. The more close, again, with these, the more tricep you'll get. Let me pause it here. Don't make the mistake of thinking, again, that you're not getting in chest at all, even with narrow grip. All right, you are. In this particular case, you can see in the video here that he is not doing super narrow, all right? He explains that for a lot of people, it seems like, oh, that's just a regular grip press. Well, in some cases, it depends on the person, but again, it'll still, with that, is that you don't have to go crazy in to hit a little bit more tricep and get to what you want out of it, all right? So with him, as you can see here, it is a bit more on the narrow side while keeping things safe. All right, in that particular case, still getting plenty out of the movement, including your chest. All right. Now, cable crossovers. This here, 10 to 12 reps, I think, is for the most part fine. You can go up to 12, 15 if you want, and then there's also a drop set on here as well. Perfectly fine with drop set. Just make sure that you're keeping the full range of motion, good technique with each rep when you do a drop set. Otherwise, it's going to kind of fall apart and become almost pointless. In that case, you should only add an extra set if you really need to, all right? But it's still gonna really be hard, all right? And that's the point, all right? On this exercise, it should be. All right, overhead tricep extensions, again, 10 to 12 reps. Probably, again, can go up to 12 to 15 if you really need to, but not absolutely necessary. Make sure, as he's showing here, hitting that full range of motion. All right, good exercise, though. Have no issue here with him showing this or having this. So, now, as you can see, lateral raises, all right? This is a little bit different. Lateral raises 21s, all right? So in this particular case, you're doing 7 reps, then 7 reps, then 7 reps. All right? So you're doing the full range of motion. Let me pause it here. Full range of motion, then the top half, and then the bottom half. All right? Make sure you're using a weight that you can hit all 7 reps in each of the instances. All right? If you guess wrong, it's going to take a little bit of experimentation on your part, but make sure you get it right. Now, one thing I do want to explain here real quick is he was showing overhead presses, all right? What I wanted to explain also was that instead of overhead press, lateral raises are a great alternative for it, all right? So, and you're doing it right here. So at the end of the day, do you absolutely have to do overhead pressing in this particular instance? Probably not. If you want to do those scrape the rack presses instead, that's a perfectly good alternative, and you'll get plenty out of it. But all right, this is going to hurt quite a lot, all right, but it is still a great way to do it. Or what you can also do, again, let me pause here real quick, is around the world kind of, or really full range of motion for lateral raises. So you've seen Mike Israetel do them in a lot of his training videos, all right? So you're up here and you're going way up here like this, full range of motion, then all the way down, all right? That's what I personally do. Again, make sure you do your full range of motion, the good technique with it, and you don't pick too heavy weight. Otherwise, you're going to fall apart, putting a lot of pressure on that lower back in particular. All right, that is a great exercise as well. That's what I've been doing in my personal rotation with it. But if you want to do these, perfectly fine. All right, again, just make sure that you're not selling yourself short with these in terms of the range of motion that you're doing, and then you pick the right weight. All right, last exercise. All right. He shows you doing neck here, all right? Don't forget your neck muscles, your trap muscles are just as important, all right? A lot of gyms don't have a machine like this, unfortunately. There are some alternatives that you can do with plates and things like that, all right? But in this particular case, if you have a machine like that, nothing wrong with using it, all right? Now, the last day here, it is the pull day. So we're starting off here with first one, all right? Lat pull down, all right. I love this exercise. Like I said, it's a great alternative for weighted pull-ups, all right. But in this particular case, again, you're adding in it, so you can alternate that weighted pull-ups with something else. There's plenty of pulling movements that you can do instead of pull-ups altogether, all right. And you can see here on the third set, you're changing the grip a little bit, so it can help with getting a little bit of variability in your workout, all right? Now, chest supported row. I love this machine, all right? Again, if you have a machine at your gym like this, use it, all right? And as you can see here, he's not keeping his chest against the pad. Let me pause it real quick. He's not keeping his chest against the pad there the entire time. He's actually moving it away from it. And then you can see here when he's starting, his back is a little bit rounded over. Then he goes back and really gets it, all right? This is true full range of motion. This is the way you should be actually using this machine. This is the way that I personally do it. One benefit of my kyphosis, by the way, is that I can actually get a really good full range of motion out of this exercise. All right, but again, by doing it this way, not only you're getting that full range of motion, but you're hitting your erectors as well, okay? And those are just as important to hit with this particular exercise, all right? So make sure that you are doing it nice and controlled, like she's showing here, and you'll believe me, you'll get plenty out of it. So now this next one here, all right, face pulls. This is one where a lot of people have an opinion on, let me pause it again, how it should be done. You know, it should be done the way he's showing it, should be done the way that Mike Earso does, where the cable is set lower down, and you're pulling more towards up this way, all right? I don't think there's necessarily a wrong way. Either way will be just fine for most people. Try both, see which one you respond to better and which one you like more, and then stick with that way, all right? Just make sure your reps for that one is very high, all right? And then in this case, he's showing an alternative here that you can do, which is a great alternative actually, because sometimes a lot of people don't like face pulls or just can't get the technique right down for it. So in this particular case, you can try these, all right, and then those will work really well. Now, next, reverse pec deck, all right, so as he says, a lot of people, those back part of your shoulder, all right, the posterior chain or posterior shoulder joint, all right, a lot of people don't get those a lot of times, all right, and that's something that you don't want to neglect, so it's good for him to include it here. I definitely agree with it. Okay, don't assume that you're getting it with the face pulls, all right, because you're getting it more in the middle part of your traps with face pulls, more part of your middle of the upper back, all right, so definitely do those. And then last one, pronated supinated curls, all right, you're doing an alternating one here, all right. These are great to do as well. All right, don't necessarily think that these are the exact curling exercises that you have to do. Everybody responds to different ones. All right, so find which one you like the most and then stick with those, and then you'll get plenty of stimulus out of it that way. All right, but if you want to do these, there's nothing wrong with that. All right, again, you'll probably get plenty of stimulus out of these. All right, so that shows you the whole program here, the whole routine. Like I said, for the most part, I really liked it. All right, I think it's a great routine to do. All right, just make sure that the exercises you're doing in each of these, you're doing the full range of motion, good technique with every single rep. All right, if there's a particular exercise that you wanted to substitute out for something else, by all means do so. Like I said, I provided some suggestions, some changes that I personally would have made a little bit more that I think should have been made, like a trap bar instead of a regular deadlift, or instead of weighted pull-ups, you can do more lat pull downs or just more pulling variations. All right, like chest supported dumbbell row, that's another great alternative. But other than that, guys, I think the programming here is great. Some rep ranges I think could have been increased just a little bit depending on that exercise, but other than that, I really liked it. So definitely would recommend give this one a try, guys. Nothing really wrong with it at all, right? And I think you can get plenty out of it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this type of video with me reacting to these type of routines. I'm planning to do actually quite a bit more of these. Like I said, Jeff actually made this suggestion to me to do this type of reaction to his videos, and I'm gonna take that advice and hope you guys really enjoyed it. So plenty more to come. All right, guys. So until then, I will see you next week.